Tonight on Artiste Presents.
Morning.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good.
I am running for the Board of Governors, Metropolitan Community College District 2. So, I'm running as a write-in. So, when you go to the polls, don't write in French. Write in James Montgomery English.
Good morning, I'm John Ewing, your Douglas County Treasurer, and excited to be here this morning at the Love Jazz Museum as we welcome Representative Jim Clayborne to Omaha, Nebraska. We're excited to have him here, as well as supporting Congressman Brad Ashford in his endeavors to represent Nebraska and the country in a moderate way that allows us to be able to come together and actually work to be able to improve the conditions for all lives in this country.
I'm Charles Nelson. I'm minister of Zion Baptist Church. I am delighted to be at this event. I am delighted that we can come together as a people, and I'm so delighted that we can get those that we put in office to be more in concern about things that is prevalent and that are important to us. For me, I am here today just to get more of a feel of what these candidates, what these people in office are willing and want to do that will be able to help us out in our communities here on our local streets. And what can we do? And what do we need to do to better improve our communication, bridge those gaps between division, and create more unity in such a time and place like this?
Hi, I'm Tim Clark, Executive Director of the Love Jazz and Arts Center. And yes, we're serving host to this reception here for the Congressman with Brad Ashford and Congressman Clayborne. This is, of course, being a not-for-profit organization, we're a neutral party, but anything that promotes bringing the community together, and especially in terms of this is about Black votes matter. Black votes that matter, and only how we're going to get to that point is really stimulating the base and getting people to act and get out there and vote. And so hopefully this will help to stimulate that and cause action, because right now in our country it is about time that the people stand and take their rightful place and take back our country.
But I want you all to know, how many of you, somebody needs to come and turn the music off. How many of you, unless y'all want to hear me sing? Oh, never mind. How many of you, yes sir, give Tim Clark a big hand, the Executive Director of the Love Center. Tim, I need to have you turn the music off. Yes sir. I love bossing people around when they don't have no way for them to fight back. But where was I? Yes, I wanted, how many of you are for the death penalty? For it. Well, I want to just take this time before we have the formal guests come, that the state of Nebraska has eliminated the death penalty. Did you know that? However, our illustrious governor chose to go in his very deep pockets and try to undo that. By the way, the state legislature is a representative of the people. You don't need to go back to the people with your money and see what they think. And so, yes, we have it on the ballot. Now, because you all are active and so forth, I'm going to give you a quiz. Cliff, I'm going to give them a quiz. How many of you are going to vote yes on the ballot, and how many of you are going to vote no as it relates to the death penalty? Let's start with the yes. Hold your hands up. All right. No. You got to word it like it's on the ballot. You don't know where I'm going with this. That's what I say. These leaders, they just want to interrupt my stuff. And how many of you are going to vote no? Retain. Okay, I'm going to try to keep my friends quiet. The answer is neither one. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Now, if we have eliminated the death penalty, what do we want to do? Do we want to reprieve that or retain that? Retain. And that's what's on the ballot. So when you go to the ballot, don't look for yes. Don't look for no. Don't look for Brenda telling me what to do. But you look for retain. Say it after me. Retain. And you tell everybody, because everybody doesn't know what you know. Tell them to vote retain. Don't look for yes and no, and don't get confused. Don't remember anything but retain. Thank you. Now, with that said, Ella, you're not leaving. You're not mad, are you? That's Ella Willis, the president of one of our great neighborhood associations. And by the way, Ella's neighborhood is where they closed, where they sent out letters. The election commission sent out letters and said, go vote at such and such, and there was no such polling place. But with that said, sir, stand up here with me for a minute. What are you doing in this meeting?
Well, I'm a part of an organization called the Journey of Hope, which consists of murder victim family members. And I'm a murder victim family member. I'm also a death row survivor. I was sentenced to die in California on December 8th. And since I've been released from prison, I've been fighting against the death penalty and fighting for social justice.
Give him a big hand. Did y'all hear what he said? Yes. They got some people looking at him and maybe you, I'm not sure everybody's story, who were on death row. And that is a testimony of why we shouldn't have the death penalty, because they weren't guilty. So give them another hand. So with that said, I hope that you will continue to join. I'm going to go upstairs, and since you don't want to see me, I'm going to bring the congressman down. All right.
Last time I saw you was in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
and you did the panel on your daughter.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a chance to come in there.
So you out there with John C. Smith?
Yes, I was over at that session at John C. Smith.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Hey, how are you? Great, good to meet you. Thank you. Hey, how's it about? How are you? Hey, how are you? Great, good to see you. Hey, oh, very good. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Quite frankly, our community is in crisis. I don't need to give you that litany and take up any time. You know we're in crisis. But what does that mean? That means in this election, maybe for at least in my lifetime, and it's been a long time, you see the gray hairs, Pastor Allen,
It's your paper.
that we have a lot at stake. We have a lot at stake. And to some degree, in this congressional district, it's going to depend on you whether or not we have ham and eggs for breakfast or we have bacon. I don't like bacon anymore. But we have to have we have to have several things. How many of you are going to get involved in some form of voter registration? Is that all? How many of you are going to vote? Well, guess what? Voting is not enough this time. Voting is not enough. You need to do several or one of these things. You need to give money to the candidates, volunteer to knock on doors, make phone calls, register to vote, do whatever you can. Voting is not going to be enough. How many of you want to wake up on November the 9th, the day after the election, and say, oops, I should have did more? None of you. How many of you played Bid Whist? Or we're going to start playing it without a trump card, if you know what I'm saying. We're going to go to Dirty Hearts now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot at stake. Let me just start at the top. We got to get Hillary Clinton in for president. We got to skip a race, and we must vote retain for the death penalty. We've got to elect our county commissioners, our school board members, our state representatives, not just because, but because of what we have something, our own self-interest in mind. And guess what?
What?
Black votes matter. And so it is my honor and pleasure to bring up our present congressman, but we've got to work like heck to make sure that Brad Ashford stays in Congress with Congressman Clayborne. Don't you agree? Well, bring him on with a big hand of applause.
My goodness, Preston, thank you. Thank you all, thank you, and thank you for coming. I will never forget the day I was in the Congress when our unicameral legislature repealed the death penalty. And I went over to my friend sitting right here and I said, you know what we just did in Nebraska? We just repealed the death penalty. And he was amazed and happy, as were many of my other colleagues, to say, if we can repeal the death penalty in Nebraska, we can repeal the death penalty anywhere. The assistant leader, the former majority whip, is an amazing man. The front lines of the civil rights movement. Married 55 years. In fact, he tells me that he met his wife in jail. Wow. Both of them were on the civil disobedience side of the civil rights movement a long, long time ago. You know, what it's like to be in the minority in the United States Congress. I was not ever there, obviously, when we were in the majority, but I know what it's like to not be in the majority. It's not so much fun. It's not so much fun. The other day we were discussing responsible gun ownership legislation. Background checks. Background checks. Those who are on the no-fly list, those people who have been suspected of terrorism. Pretty common sense stuff. Yeah. And who was the first member to get up there in the well in the 18 hours or 20, I don't know, James, 26 hours that the speeches went on? It was the assistant leader sitting behind me. Yeah. The entire caucus relies upon James Coburn. The entire caucus. And it is such an incredible honor to have him be here with me today and to speak to you. Amen. I'd like to introduce to you my friend, my good friend, and a friend of everyone here, and a friend of everyone across the country that believes in fairness and social justice. The assistant leader of the Democratic Party of the 114th Congress, James Clayborne.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brad, for being so kind to me here today. Not just to invite me out here so I can get back to Omaha, Nebraska. I just want all of you to know, before I go further, that I have a 21-year-old grandson who is a senior at Coastal Carolina. And when I stood in the motel room last night as I checked in, I looked out into that stadium and I couldn't help but send a text to my grandson. He's not on the baseball team, he's more of a golfer, but I just had to let him know that his granddad was out here just lavishing over the fact that his school had just shown real baseball. I'm also pleased to be here because, you know, those of you who are looking on our proceedings as we carry out our duties and responsibilities to the country, you know that we often refer to each other on the floor of the House as my good friend, but most times we don't mean it. But when I say Brad is my good friend, I really do mean it. I started reading about him long before I met him. And when he ran for Congress last time, quite frankly, as Preston just said, I maxed out to him financially before I ever laid eyes on him. Because I saw in his background, I saw in his service to this state and to this nation, the kind of person that I would love to serve with in the Congress. Someone who does not mind reaching out across the aisle, who does not mind standing up for the principles that this country was built upon in order to move an agenda forward to benefit all of us as Americans. And so he invited me to come out here last year. We never could work it out. But this time, in spite of all that tried to intercede, I decided that I would leave from Washington last night, come here. We had a great dinner last night. I'm spending the morning with him. I'll go to the morning hour for 2 events this afternoon and evening. I'll go to Chicago with Brad Snyder to do a church service there in the morning. And then on to Cleveland, Ohio, before I go home to celebrate my 76th birthday with my wife. And one of the reasons I was getting emails from her is because she just wanted me to know that we just had our 55th wedding anniversary, but about on her to get home, it won't get to 56. We are at a significant crossroads in our country. We have seen an economy that, quite frankly, is not working for everybody. And we know that. But I want you to take a little journey with me for a moment. We talked a little bit about it last night. I was in the room September 18, 2008, when Ben Bernanke from the Fed, who happens to be from Dillon, South Carolina, Ben Bernanke and Hank Paulson, our treasurer, came into the conference room with Nancy Pelosi to say to her at 5 o'clock in the afternoon that we had not weeks or months, but we had hours, literally days in which to do something right away, or the entire economy of the country would melt down.
Yes, sir.
Nobody was focusing on that. We were losing 800,000 jobs per month.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Barack Obama was not the president.
No.
This was September 2008.
Yes, sir.
You may recall he and John McCain both suspended their campaigns.
Yes, sir.
And came back to Washington to meet with us to see what we could do to set our differences, our political differences aside, and do what was necessary to save this country from going into another deep depression.
Yes, sir.
And we did this. We had to take some tough votes. You may recall the automobile industry had literally collapsed.
Yeah.
For the first time in this, since the automobile was invented.
Yes, sir.
You had foreign automobile industries selling more cars than General Motors.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Never had happened before.
Yes, sir.
And so all around us, we saw nothing but dismay.
Yes, sir.
And so the people went to the polls 2 months later and voted to change the direction of the country.
Yes, sir.
So when Barack Obama took office in January 2009, he had some significant challenges both on the home front and abroad. We have been taken into an ill-advised, unwise venture in Iraq.
Yeah.
There's no business there. Everybody who studied know we had absolutely no business there. But George W. Bush was hell-bent on going into Iraq. We had no business having a failed economy. When George W. Bush became president of the United States, we became president at a time we were creating jobs at a historical pace. Bill Clinton created 22 million new jobs during his 8 years as president.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Our deficit was nearly eliminated when he took office. But they put in place policies that brought an end to all of that. They created a greed mentality.
Yes.
Where only the upper 1% was gaining in wealth.
Yeah.
While the other 99% is losing.
Suffer.
This is not what I'm saying. Just, I tell people all the time, I used to teach history. And so I tell people, I love history. I study it all the time. But you don't have to be a historian anymore. The internet teaches all of that. Just get your grandson or granddaughter to just tell them what you want to know. And they will click on it and find out. So anything I say here today, you don't have to worry about is she telling the truth. Just go home, get your granddaughter, your grandson, and say, click on this. A lot of it, you can click on the Jim Clybur's name because I post a lot of this stuff so that people will know. In fact, one of the emails I got from my wife this morning, she just read in our morning papers a tremendous speech given by Senator Tim Scott, who's an African-American senator on the Republican side. Tim and I are good friends. We just don't agree with much with each other. And she was telling me, she said, those last 3 articles I sent you, please send them to Tim Scott. He needs to read them. I just saw what he said this morning. He needs to read those 3 articles I sent to you. So my wife ain't no expert on the internet, but she knows who to call when she wants something done. So go on the internet and make sure you share this information with your friends.
Yes, sir.
Because a lot of people believe some strange stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
About what is or is not happening. Barack Obama has moved an agenda in this country that's got the country moving again. We should not run the risk of doing anything else between now and the November elections but getting Hillary Clinton elected president. And you got 2 retaining issues on your ballot. Yes, retain retain the actions of your unicameral legislature in getting rid of the death penalty, but retain Brad Ashford as your congressperson. You don't always vote the same way. A lot of times we cancel each other out. And that's all right with me. My wife cancels me out all the time. I'm used to being canceled out. And so that is not what allows us to grow. Agreeing with each other all the time on every issue will not create much growth. You grow when you have a cross-section of ideas, when you bring in something to the table which may be different from the other person that's sitting across the table, but you sit down, you talk to those things, you hash things out, and you find common ground. You can't find common ground if you're already there. You got to go through a process. And so this whole notion, a lot of times I go around campaigns with people and somebody says, well, does he vote with you? I said, no, he doesn't always vote with me. But every time I run for whip, leader, he votes for me. Yes, sir. So send it back. Yeah, he votes for me. I'm out here. I'm looking for a vote too. And so I really appreciate the fact that he is such a good thinker. Someone who has great experiences that I can learn from. When I wrote my memoirs, published 2 years ago, by the way, it's a little bit Amazon last time I checked it, a 5-star.
Go ahead.
I call the book Blessed Experiences.
All right.
Genuinely Southern and proudly Black. Now the reason I call the book Blessed Experiences is because when I was a sophomore in college, I had a professor that I used to challenge a lot. I've always been a bit argumentative. And one day as I was debating with the professor, William Howell.
1, 2, 3. I am running for the Board of Governors, Metropolitan Community College District 2. So I'm running as a write-in. So when you go to the polls, don't write in French. Write in James Montgomery English. Thank you so much for your vote.